Zero at Disney Cars Toy Club, and we are gonna have some fun today. I'm really excited about this video. We're gonna be decorating and designing our very own Lightning McQueen Disney Vinylmation. We're also gonna open up and show you guys the smaller Lightning McQueen and Mater Vinylmations. Now we're gonna be using some glitter glue and some spray paint to design this Lightning McQueen, and I wanna get this video started off by just going ahead and taking this thing out of the box. And if you're wondering where I got this, it actually came from eBay, and when it got shipped to me, the box got crushed a little bit. But this is actually the first time that I've opened it up. And right here on the back of the box, you can see they kind of spray painted a little bit. They got some tape right here to tape this part off, which is actually what we're gonna do here in just a second. But let's go ahead and check this thing out. So here's a look at the bottom. Not really sure what that is, but it's definitely made out of vinyl. It's kind of soft on the bottom right there. The rest of this is like a more harder material. And if you're wondering how much this was, it was actually about I want to say $45, so it was not cheap. It's actually a pretty expensive Vinylmation. But this is what we're going to be working with, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this painter's tape and mark off the spots that I don't want to spray paint. And then I'm going to take this glitter intense shimmer finish paint right here, and I'm going to spray this thing down. But let's go ahead and get this tape on here first. So here we go, step one is complete. So it took me about 45 minutes to cover all this up. I mean, it did take a lot of time to cut these little pieces in the shapes that I wanted them to be, but I did get all the parts covered up that I wanted to cover up. Right there's gonna be his mouth, there's his eyes. I'll use these stickers right here for the 95, and what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna go outside, I'm gonna spray this red glitter paint all over it, and then we're gonna let it dry. I'm gonna come back in, and then we're gonna record taking this tape off, and we'll see how it turns out. Hopefully it won't be too bad. Alright, so we have some good news and some bad news, and possibly more bad news. The original paint that I tried to use on this did not work. It actually dripped right off, so I had to go back out and get this, which is paint and primer for metal, wood, and plastic, and this actually worked really well, so it's on there good. But the problem is the old paint, I wasn't able to take all of it completely off, so there's a few little specks kind of all over the place. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take this tape off and see what it looks like. Now it's okay if it's not perfect. We don't need it to be like perfectly edged everywhere, and the reason being is we're gonna paint outlines around everything with the acrylic paint that's back there, and some of this I'm hoping I can maybe chip some of that off. But what we're gonna do now is let's go ahead and we're going to take all this tape off of here, and see, that's the one thing that I'm worried about is the paint might have seeped in a few little areas. So that's going to be the only thing that could possibly mess it up. And actually I'm going to take the eyes off. Let's see how this turned out, and I have to be kind of careful with how I'm taking this off because I don't want to rip and tear into the paint that's hopefully dried on there. It's been about 3 days, so it should be pretty dry on here. And again, that's kind of what I'm worried about, is right in there where it's just kind of, it's kind of dripped in there just a little bit. So here's what it looks like with all the tape off, and that's pretty close to where I wanted it to be. It messed up in a few little tiny areas like right here, and we should be able to clean all this up though with the paint that we're going to be using with the brushes. So I'm liking how it looks so far. There was actually a point that I almost tossed it when the paint was dripping all over it, the original paint, but I'm glad I didn't because we can work with this. Now, before I do any painting, I want to show you guys one thing. I did order this off of eBay. This was only a few dollars. It's made by Rod Makers, and it's going to be some stickers, some decals that we can use. And here's pretty much what we have to work with. Now this World Grand Prix, I definitely want that going across the back, and I forgot to take his taillights off, so let's get the taillights off real quick. But we're gonna have some decals as kind of a backup or to fill in some extra areas of the car, but I am gonna make sure that this thing is gonna be Lightning McQueen, but it's gonna look pretty custom by the time we're done with it. But here's the stickers. I ordered this because I wanted those numbers, because those numbers aren't something that I can easily just paint on there. So we're gonna use the numbers and maybe a few other things. But let's go ahead and we're gonna test out this paint. This is gonna be this is the just pure black, and we're actually gonna paint his eyes on real quick. And here's kind of something that I have to use as sort of maybe something to go off of. And let's pick a brush. Let's see, what would be a good brush for this? Maybe I like this one, because we're not going to paint like a huge black eye or anything like that. It's just going to be kind of a smaller one. And his eyes are actually pretty close to the middle, so we're going to paint these sort of close to the middle. I'm not going to paint him too big because we're going to make some like glitter glue, like a blue glitter glue outline to go around it. So I don't want to make these too big. And the glue is really going to be what kind of separates it and really kind of showcases his eyes. But there's pretty much where his eyes are going to be, and I just need to even them up just a little bit. So that's pretty close to what I wanted right there with his eyes. Now the next thing that I want to paint is his windows. If you notice, he's got these black windows, and we left the windows blank like this. So we're going to go ahead and paint those in real quick. So now that that step is done, here's a look at what it looks like with just the windows painted so far. And I did a little outline around his eyes right there. And next up, we're going to need to paint his tires, because the tires, of course, are going to be black all the way around. I don't think I'm going to attempt to try to do the letters on the tires, so we're just going to paint the black around the tires, and we're going to leave the inside blank for right now. So we're into the next day. The tires are now dry, the windows are now dry, so everything on here is dry, and I used this blue acrylic paint right here to kind of just test this out right here. And to be honest, I don't think I really like how this looks, so we're going to end up changing this. But for the tires, if you notice, it's really uneven in the middle, which is okay, because we're going to come back in and we're going to paint this part of the tires, so it's all going to be covered up, so I'm not worried about that being a little messy right now. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a black marker and we're going to outline his little headlights and his mouth and a couple other things. We're just going to kind of make a little outline to indicate where his headlights really are. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back in and then we're going to paint the inside of these headlights. So now we got the headlights, the mouth, and the lightning bolt, and the tail lights on the back all drawn in with the marker. And next what we're going to do is we're going to take this yellow paint, this Glamour Dust Ultra Fine glitter paint, and we're going to paint in some of these areas that we just marked off. Now the only thing that we're not going to paint is going to be his mouth and his eyes, like up here in his eyes. We're going to leave that white, and we're going to leave his mouth completely white. But these lightning bolt on this side and the one on the other side and these taillights, we're going to paint all of this yellow. So I'm now officially 1 week into this project, and if you're wondering why it's been a week since I've started this, every time that I've done a part of this, I'm having to wait for it to dry, and this yellow took a couple days to dry. So it's definitely taken a little bit longer than what I thought. But the next step is we're going to take this red marker right here, and we're going to color the inside of his wheelbase right here. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to come back and put some glitter glue, some red glitter glue in here, but I want to make sure that there's not any white showing. Like, I'm not too concerned if there's some of the black is just kind of seeped in there, but I want to make sure that there's no white. And so now that we have all four of the tires colored in, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to take this blue marker and I'm actually going to draw a circle around his eyes. And the reason why is because Lightning McQueen has like a blue highlight around his eyes. And we're going to take the glitter glue and we're going to highlight around his eyes. But again, I'd rather have some blue showing than some white. And if you look at our little example car right here, you can kind of see the blue around his eyes. So that's what we're doing right here. And I still have yet to figure out how I'm going to fix that blue area that's going around his right here. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with that just yet, but we're going to get to that in a little while. But let's go ahead and we're going to use some glitter glue now. This is the big giant red vat of it that I have right here, and we're definitely not going to be using all of this. And I'm just going to basically just splash a lot of this right inside of his wheelbase. And what ends up happening when the glitter dries it basically flattens out and you really only see the sparkles. So again, that's the reason why I wanted to color this in first, and now we're going to put this glitter glue in all 4 of the wheelbases. So I have the glitter glue in all 4 tires, and I added some of the red around where that blue was, so that hopefully when that dries I can take a better look and figure out what I want to do next with it. And I was looking at our options for the blue colors, and I'm thinking I'm going to use this blue right here and kind of go around his eye. So let's go ahead and get this opened up. I'm actually going to try to do this in front of the camera, and some of you guys might be a little disappointed that I didn't show actual painting of the car, but you know, I've spent probably about 4 to 5 hours painting this thing off camera, and it would have been really difficult to do this while holding this in front of the camera and showing it to you guys. On top of that, it would have been really hard to edit the video, you know, edit the 4 to 5 hours of me just kind of taking my time painting this thing, because, you know, if I tried to rush through it or just try to, you know, make it video friendly as I'm doing it, it probably wouldn't turn out all that good. And I want this to look nice for you guys, so again, I'm having to do some of this on camera and a lot of it off the camera, but there's his eyes, and you know, once that dries, we're probably gonna have to go back and do that again, but there's a look at it while it's still wet. Now the next thing that we're gonna do, I'm gonna try my best to hold this. It's kind of hard because there's some wet glitter glue everywhere. I'm gonna try to just kind of go around where this black outline is and put this golden glitter glue kind of around the yellow to kind of make the yellow stand out just a little bit more. So there we go. That's actually the best I could do. The problem with that specific color, this color right here, is it was really watered down, so the glitter glue kind of wants to run a little bit. But hopefully when it dries, it'll be a little bit more even, and if it's not, I can maybe scrape it away a little bit. The next color I want to use is going to be this kind of a red, I guess, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to go around and highlight the little black area that we marked out. And we're going to try to stay off the yellow as much as we can, because we want this to be kind of like a sharp line. And I'm not doing a very good job trying to hold this in front of the camera and do it at the same time. So there we go. That actually turned out really good. I mean, that's about as good as you can do with some glitter glue. Now what we're going to do next, because all of this is wet all over it, we're going to let all this dry, and then we're going to come back and check it out once it's dried up. So here we are at day number 8. All of this is now dry, and I went ahead and of course finished all of this, and I also went around these windows up here. If you notice, there's some red glitter glue around the windows. I added some lines down here, and all of this is dry. This is how the tail lights turned out. It is dry now, and if you notice, it's really big and wide, which isn't something that I wanted, but it turned out that way because the glitter glue was just so watered down that it kind of ran a little bit, so I had to go back over it a second time and add some more. And of course we did this side as well, and if you notice, I added some red to cover up that blue just a little bit. I wanted to leave a little bit of the blue to give it kind of like a highlight, and I added some more red around his eyes. Did not do anything up front. And the next thing that we're gonna do right now, we're gonna add some little tail lights back here, some actual lights into here, and hopefully this glitter glue is not the runny kind. We're gonna try to give them 3 little tail lights, 3 little bubbles right there. Same thing on this side. Give them 3 little bubbles. And what I'm going to end up doing is we're going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go back over it once it's dry and add a little bit more. Because again, you know, once it's dry, it flattens down. If you notice, if you look at it real close, it flattens down. But right now, if you notice, it's kind of bubbled out. So once it dries and flattens, then you can add some more. And we're going to do the same thing up front, actually. We're going to add just a couple little lights. We're just going to do one here and one here, and that's all we're gonna do for that. Now for the side here, I want to do something around the wheel well, just this area right here. So what we're gonna do is actually, you know what, before we do that, I just noticed this glitter glue is actually cracking a little bit right there. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this silver before we do the wheel well, and we're going to highlight the inside of each one of these wheels. We're just going to kind of cover it up a little bit. So here's a look at the silver now that it's on there, and I like the silver so much that I went around the windows with it, and I also went around this the front headlights as well, because I like the way that it looks so much. And the next thing we're gonna do is we have this is kind of like a weird color, but we're gonna go through gotta make sure I don't touch any of the wet glue, but we're gonna highlight these numbers on the top, and we're just gonna kind of just add a little bit of glitter glue to the inside of these numbers. Not a lot, I just want a little bit in there. And that's pretty much all I wanted to do right there. And it looks kind of weird right now, but I guarantee once the glue dries and it flattens down and it's not bubbled up like that, I'm thinking that it's gonna look good. And then the very last final thing I wanna do, we're gonna highlight his mouth right here. And then once I'm finished with this, I'm gonna let the glue dry. So here's a look at the front now that I've gotten all the glitter glue around his mouth, and it's going to look a lot different once that dries. And I went ahead and added a little bit more along here. It's actually a purple, and I had the red behind it, so we'll see how that turns out when it's finished. And then the last thing I want to do is I want to make a little bit of a design around his wheel well, and we're going to start right where this glitter glue ends. We're actually just going to go right around where his wheel is, and this is kind of a funky color, and I'm hoping that it'll look okay once it dries, but again, we'll find out tomorrow. So here's a look at it now that it's all dry, and if you notice, I'm sure you're gonna notice right away, the inside here of the wheel is now different. It's a different shade of red, and it's also got gold around it, and the reason why is because once that red on the inside had dried, the original red, it started peeling off. It did not want to stick to the actual Vinylmation, so I had to pretty much just take all that out and redo it. So now we're gonna have to wait for that to kind of dry again. And there's the little outside of the wheel well right there. That didn't turn out too bad. It's kind of what I wanted, and I like how most of this looks. Now, one thing I do want to point out is the glitter glue. You know, we have two different kinds. There's some by the Crayola and then some by this Crazy Art, and the Crazy Art stuff is really watered down. It likes to run and it takes a little bit longer to dry, whereas the Crayola stuff, which is what I used right here on his little red headlight part and right here on the back, if you notice, it actually, when it dries, it doesn't flatten out all the way. This actually stays up a little bit, and it also it works a little bit better. It's easier to use. That's what we use that's around here too. So it's definitely a lot different between those two. Now the next thing I want to do, it's actually going to be a little bit strange, and I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but we are going to find out. I am just going to splatter some red glitter all over him, and then I'm going to take my finger and just kind of smear it in there, and we're going to smear these little glitter, the glitter sparkle stuff. We're just going to put that all over the red. And then once that dries, I'm going to spray the clear coat all over it, and then we'll see how it turns out. The only thing left to do after we put the clear coat on will be to apply the stickers. So we're getting pretty close to being done. So here's what it looks like with the clear coat and just a little bit of the sparkles just kind of all over them. And I'll have to admit, this thing looks 50 times better with this really shiny clear coat. I mean, it looks like almost like a professionally done car. Clear coat just makes everything look 50 times better than what it actually is. It definitely makes all the glitter and the sparkles come out really nicely, and I signed the back. There's my name and the date. And I even put a little clear coat on the bottom as well, but again, that clear coat just looks really nice. It just makes everything real smooth too. And of course, we still have to put the stickers on, but before we do the stickers, I want to open this up. So this is going to be the Cars 2 Disney Vinylmations. This is Lightning McQueen and Mater. These are both 3-inch figures. And let's just go ahead and get this opened up and get them taken out. And I want to take a look at our Mater here first, and these look a little strange because, you know, it's a car that's been kind of wrapped in the shape of a Mickey Mouse figure, so they look a little odd. And right here on his arm it does say Tow Mater, and then right here on the back it says A-113, And on the bottom, instead of it actually saying Mater, it just says Cars 2. He's got kind of like his classic goofy look on his face. And then here's going to be our Lightning McQueen. There's a 95 right here. There's one right there on his ear. And then right here it says Piston Cup, which is what we're going to be adding to the hood of our custom Lightning McQueen. Same thing with this. This is on his back, and we're going to be adding that to the bumper of our light, or maybe somewhere around the bumper. I don't know if we're going to put it on the bumper or not. In fact, let's take a look at this car. So this is kind of what I'm using as an example, and that's one thing that I didn't get quite right with this one. It's supposed to have like flames, but they're just, to me, there wasn't enough room to really do a lot of flames right there. So we're going to be using stickers for that. And the one thing that I'm kind of concerned about is this glitter glue is so far raised up off of it that I'm not sure how that sticker is going to work. In fact, I'm still trying to decide which one of those I want to use. I guess we're going to use the flame one, and I'm kind of hoping it's going to stick. And here's going to be, let's see if this is going to work. It is sticking, so that's good. It's making really good contact, so I think that's going to work out pretty good. And here's a look at the front with the stickers all in place. I'm going to give you guys kind of a side-by-side look at our little toy car and our custom car. And I was originally going to show you guys actually placing the stickers on the car, but this video is running so long I kind of had to cut a corner somewhere. So I went ahead and put all the stickers on, and here's just kind of a really good look at our toy car and our custom car. Just one last look at the side here. And you know, I definitely like the way the little toy car looks more than our custom one. In fact, if I had to do it all over again, I'd probably want to make the side a little bit closer to what's shown right there, but I still think it looks like a pretty cool custom car, and I hope you guys enjoyed our video for today. If you did, be sure to press the like button, especially if you want to see more videos like this where we do the custom creations. I actually have a My Little Pony that I'm considering doing this with, so if you guys would want to see a video like that, just be sure and comment below. This is Zero at Disney Cars Toy Club, and as always, thanks for stopping by.